Let's see. Here we go. I'm seeing more lines pick up, so that's got to be Jenny.
It is.
Jenny, hello, hello, hello. We are thrilled you are with us. Welcome to an international TV show with you being the star for the next bit.
My 15 minutes of fame.
Oh gosh, it's going to go well beyond. This is just the first 15 minutes of fame. I was giving your bit of your introduction that you're at the Adler Aphasia Center where you've been for about a year. Starting as a graduate student clinician, if I've got it right, and working your way to just being being an SLP at one of the great aphasia centers and programs that are out there.
Yes, that's true. Started as a student. Now I'm an SLP here, luckily. Glad to be here.
Where did you go to school?
I went to New York University.
Oh, very nice. Very nice, very nice. Hopefully y'all are doing well. You're just a little bit north from us right now. We're down near Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Not too far.
Where this is coming from. But I think we can just go ahead and get started. If you're ready, I'm going to get the heck off the stage. And we're just grateful you're here. We're grateful for Adler's ongoing support of aphasia access and the teaching. And everyone's excited to hear what you have to share.
All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen then and take over.
Wonderful. Then I'm going to stay till that screen share starts.
Okay.
Perfect.
See my screen? All right, perfect. So, hello everyone. If you just missed it before, my name is Jennie Adessa, and I'm at the Adler Aphasia Center in Maywood, New Jersey. And today I really just want to have a conversation about how we welcome our new members to our virtual groups. But before I get into that, I just want to give you a little bit of information about our center. So we provide group programming for people with aphasia and their families in 10 counties throughout New Jersey. And we service hundreds of people each week. And typically we do provide in-person services. However, due to COVID-19, we've been utilizing a virtual platform where we offer about 15 groups a week. And just as an aside, we refer to our clients as members, so you may hear me use that term often throughout my 15 minutes. And at the Maywood Center, where I am, we have our largest pool of people. We service about 80 members in person, and since moving to the virtual platform following COVID-19, we are currently servicing about 45 members. So the question here for us is how to integrate new members onto our virtual platform. And before answering this huge question, I just want to note that at Adler, we recognize that not every single person is tech savvy and not comfortable with being on the computer. So for those people who aren't, we do plan to onboard them to our program once we open back up again. However, for those who are savvy enough to join our tech world, it is important for us to integrate our new members. And the main reason is that it makes our newcomers feel more comfortable at our center. Joining our center as a newcomer, you become the only outlier to a bunch of people who have known each other for years. And at the center, this ideally would have been done in person. A newcomer would get to see our entire program, meet other people with aphasia, and get an idea of what we are before starting. So we really wanted to make an onboarding process that's similar to what we do in person and really integrate our new members. So this onboarding process to include our new members to make them feel integrated has 3 steps. And I'm going to go into these in more detail, but really the first, they're scheduled an intake. Then they register for our prerequisite program. This is our aphasia education program. And then they're paired with a current member, one of our veteran members, for a meet and greet or an introduction. And again, I'm just going to go into these in a little bit more detail for you. So the first part of this integration process is our intake. And typically this occurs between the client, the caregiver, and our SLP staff. And this intake, it's exactly what it sounds like. Essentially, it's an informal language screening where we assess the individual's eligibility to attend our program. So we're considering other comorbid diagnoses and level of care that is needed to join our center. And then we go into our virtual groups and the steps that it takes to join our program. So typically we would talk about what our membership looks like when we're open, but now that we're virtual, we're really going into in-depth about the virtual program and what we have to offer. Following this intake, before they can join our groups, we have this aphasia education program. And this program was devised as an introduction program. And the goal is really so that every person who comes into our center has the same background knowledge of what aphasia is, and they have exposure to other people with aphasia before joining our center. And this program, you'll see here, it is for members and caregivers. So you're giving that background knowledge to both parties. And typically in person, this is a 4-day event. And there's even a family education night for people who may be interested but can't come during the day. And as a team, we worked really hard to modify this program so that it could function virtually. And we wanted to make sure it provided the same benefit to our incoming members, which is just giving them that background knowledge of their diagnosis. And the goal, as I said before, is to provide members and caregivers with information and resources about aphasia. So this includes strategies to improve communication between the caregiver and the person with aphasia, and general information and education relating to aphasia. So why aphasia looks so different across individuals, common aspects of language that may be affected, why some people have difficulty with some areas and some find other things so easy. And another significant thing that comes out of this program is a resource manual that we put together for each participant. And this manual has a bunch of community resources available to it, different rides a person is able to sign up for, various aphasia apps to use on their technology devices, and all of the education and strategy information that we go over during our sessions. And then we also provide a communication packet. And in this packet, we have some sheets that we've made ourselves, but a lot of sheets that we pulled from the Aphasia Institute of Toronto, like family diagrams, alphabet boards, yes, no boards, just to facilitate conversation. And even if the person goes through this program and they decide they don't want to join virtually and they want to wait till we're in person, they still get this tool that will benefit them in some way. So the first of this program, everything I just talked about, this aphasia education program, we decided to run in 5 one-hour sessions. And I'm going to explain these to you in the next slide in more depth so you have more idea what I'm talking about here. So this is an example of what our mock schedule would look like, what the person with aphasia would most likely see. For our first AEP, we had 4 new members joining at one time, so we really wanted to give them a lot of experience of getting to meet each other. So these first 2 sessions were getting to know you sessions, and for these individuals and many people who join our center, they had little to no interaction with people with aphasia before this. They never met anyone else. So this really is the chance to meet someone, although it's virtual, with aphasia and relate to each other. They get a chance to share their stories, whether it be their stroke story or about their life, and start to build a bond together and relate to one another. After we have those 2 sessions, we move into our aphasia education. And this, as I said, they're provided with what is aphasia, what causes it, a person's severity level, verbal output, but also it's a chance for members to put their aphasia in perspective with other people. So what are things that they are having difficulty with that someone else may not have difficulty with? Or what are things you may see in group that you've never seen before but actually is part of having aphasia? The next part, session 4, is our tips and strategies. And here our members get functional use of what they may have been practicing in individual therapy, because again, we're doing group therapy here. And no matter the means of communication, whether it's describing, gesturing, writing, drawing, the focus really is on effective communication. And so we do have a component in this tips and strategy section where members are asked to practice these different skills. And this gives a chance for caregivers to see what their person can actually do, that their person with aphasia can communicate through different means and it can be functional. On the topic of caregivers, here we also discuss tips for caregivers as well. So what can the communication partner do to ease communication between them and the person with aphasia? And then in our last session, session 5, here you'll see music. This is just a theme-based group. And the idea here is to give the person with aphasia, the people in the group, a chance to experience what our virtual groups are like when you are attending a theme-based group that is not just a conversation to get to know you. And then I do just want to note that on each of these days, sessions 1 through 5, I was there with one of my fellow SLPs, Elise, and we had another member of our staff, SLP staff, who would rotate in just to acclimate the members to the staff that would be present and who would be facilitating the groups that they may join. So after this aphasia education program, we have a meet and greet scheduled. This is the third step in the integration process. And essentially, this meet and greet is an introduction between the new members and the veteran members. And it really is to help new individuals have a familiar face in our groups. This was specifically put together for the virtual platform because typically before joining our program, newcomers would have met some of these individuals and established these surface connections during their intake. So we wanted to give our new members the same experience of meeting our new veteran members. And when planning this meet and greet, it was important for us to match, the new and the veteran members, but really to match personalities and language abilities. So you want to consider things like who's outgoing, who's going to initiate conversations, who would be more passive, or who's going to dominate the conversation, but then also communication abilities, right? So what expressive and receptive deficits are there that are going to impact the conversations? This way you can create a relationship between two people before sending them into the group with everyone. So this meet and greet, it's much smaller than what you would see on our virtual platform. So while we might have 45 members signing on for a virtual group and then breaking off, for the meet and greet, it's only about 3 or 5 members overall. And it's really meant as this introduction and a warm up before joining our big group. So I do want to talk about how to modify this program, right? Because a 5-session program, while it ran great for us, it's not always ideal depending on how many people you have joining at one time. And we considered this because we knew that we weren't always going to have 4 new members joining in one time. So for our second round of putting out this integration progress, our intake remained the same, but our AEP, that aphasia education program that I went into, it was much shorter. And the focus was really on aphasia education and communication strategies between the person with aphasia and their caregiver, and just getting a better understanding of the diagnosis and what to expect when you're in our groups. And our meet and greet was also much smaller. Our newest member met with 2 veteran members, and we really worked to match personalities and communication abilities, as I noted, but just to be able to have a free conversation between the individuals that wasn't just about aphasia. Specifically in the meet and greet we just had, our newest member really wants to be able to drive again. So the 2 members that we actually paired up, one has recently got their license back and another has been driving for years, and it was a really great conversation to see what there is potential to have, and they created this bond that going into the group, there are people like him and they can relate to each other. The other thing I just want to touch on is, what's the point of this? What's the feedback we get? Why go through these 3 steps? And I want to talk about our new members and our veteran members. So for our new members, I really heard a bunch of positive feedback, including how great it is to be introduced to other people with aphasia. Because remember I said, and I'm sure you experienced, a lot of people with aphasia have not met other people with aphasia. And also these newcomers, they reported finding comfort and knowing that other people are experiencing similar things that they are, and they're not alone in what's happening. And then the smaller group size was also very impactful. It was more comfortable to share experiences in these groups and to open it up about things that they're experiencing, opposed to be thrown into a group and having to share with 45 other people. And then our veteran members, specifically those who we picked to join our meet and greet, those individuals were very excited to be part of this initiation process because it was a chance for them to come together and let other people with aphasia know they aren't alone. But also they become ambassadors for our center and for what, my screen sharing stopped. So they become ambassadors for our center, and in a sense, take the new members under their wing and help them to become part of our center and feel more part of our family and be able to connect with everyone. So I know my screen shared stopped. Maybe I can reshare for you. Someone might have taken over.
Yeah, let's give that a try. We're trying to figure out, there's gremlins. There we go.
All right, it's back to me.
All right.
So I did want to leave some time for questions. Again, I know you can't include all these components into your centers, but this is how we've been welcoming our new members. So if you do have any questions for me, you could shoot them my way now, or I put my email on the slide. You could send me what you have. Are there any questions?
If you do have questions, you can put them in the chat feature, or you can add them on the live stream, or you can add them to the Facebook page. We're just watching that right now. Jenny, we just thank you so much. I can tell you there's more than one person who's saying this transition to virtual groups and virtual orientation and whatnot has been hard. And I think we're all still trying to figure out our way as what's going on is changing so rapidly around us at the same time. Wonder if I'm going to ask everybody. So if you're on the line and you're speaking later, this is your fair warning. Jenny gets put on the hook, instead of you. If we distill things down to one bullet, the big nugget that you want to make sure that folks don't lose, what would that be?
Don't lose from my presentation.
From your 15 minutes of starting fame, not to be called
15 minutes of fame. I think that, and our center talks about this a lot, is it's really important to connect other people with aphasia together and to do it in a way where they feel comfortable. And through our communication groups and this strategy, using these 3 steps, we really have integrated new members to feel part of our family and comfortable sharing in our groups.
That's wonderful. That's true. Do you have a favorite memory of the last 11 months? If we're reading your LinkedIn profile, right? We stalked everybody's LinkedIn profiles so that we could do introductions. We didn't want to bother everybody. Tell me the last year with Adler, is there a moment that stands out to you?
Every moment at Adler stands out to me.
One of my favorite is that I brought my children, who were in stroller at the time, up to one of the summer musical performances, and they just took off down the hallway down to the craft room and whatnot in the middle of the show, and I couldn't contain them at all. It was really pretty funny. And I even brought them McDonald's to try and keep them in check. So if folks have questions or maybe would like to talk to you more about all of this, I think your email is the best way to go on she's even using the mouse. This is what we call teamwork here. How we do things. So perfect. Well, Jenny, we're grateful. We're absolutely grateful. I think there's knowledge that folks will absolutely be able to take and put into action. And it's always good hearing what's going on at Adler too. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.